They blocked my farm road. They put up a fence overnight, locked my gate, and laughed in my face when I knocked on their door. My livestock needed feeding. My fields needed tending. They thought a city lawyer and a padlock were going to stop a third-generation farmer. They were dead wrong. What happened next changed everything for them, for me, and for every farmer watching this right now who's been pushed too far. Stay right there. You need to see how this ended. If you've ever had a neighbor try to walk all over you, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell, because at Neighbor Wars HQ, we document every battle, every legal fight, and every righteous win. Let's get into it. My family has farmed this land for 3 generations. My grandfather broke the soil here. My father built the barn you can see from the main road. And for 40 years, 40 uninterrupted years, we used the same gravel road that cuts through the corner of what is now the Henderson property to access our backfields and the creek pasture where we run cattle in summer. Nobody ever questioned it. Nobody ever had a problem with it. It was just the way things worked out here, the way neighbors do things in the country, with trust, with respect, and with the kind of unspoken agreement that everybody just understands. Then the Hendersons sold, and a couple from the city bought the land from a lawyer and his wife who, the moment they saw our trucks rolling through, decided that the road was their personal property and nobody was going to use it without their permission. We tried being neighborly. We knocked on the door. We introduced ourselves. We explained the history. And the new owner looked us dead in the eye and said, "I don't care about history. This is my land now." That was the moment I knew exactly what kind of fight was coming. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I woke up, got my boots on, grabbed my coffee, and headed out to check on the cattle in the creek pasture, the same routine I've had for 22 years. Except when I pulled up to the access road, there was a brand new fence running across it. Steel posts, 5 strands of barbed wire, and a padlocked gate with a hand-painted sign that said, "Private property, in no trespassing." I sat there in my truck for a full minute just staring at it. My cattle were on the other side of that road. My water lines ran under it. My hay storage shed sat 200 yards past that gate. And this man had locked me out of my own operation overnight without a single word of warning. I called my neighbor 3 times that morning. No answer. I drove to the house. His wife answered the door, told me her husband was busy, and shut it in my face. So I did what any reasonable person does when faced with the unreasonable. I called my attorney. And while I was on the phone describing what had happened, I was also doing something my neighbor clearly never expected a farmer to do. I was pulling out every deed, every survey map, every recorded document going back to 1968 that I had filed my property binder in the shop. Because my grandfather wasn't just a farmer. He was a meticulous man who believed in paperwork. Here's what the city lawyer next door didn't know or didn't bother to check before he started swinging his hammer on a Tuesday morning. In most states, when you use a road, a path, or any access across someone else's property openly, continuously, and without their permission for a legally defined period of time, which in our state is 10 years, you can establish what's called a prescriptive easement. That means the law recognizes your right to keep using it. It doesn't matter who owns the land. It doesn't matter if the deed changed hands. That easement travels with the property, and it can be enforced in court. We had 40 years of use, 40 years of tire, tracks, gravel deliveries, invoices, photographs, aerial images from county records, signed statement from 3 neighbors who'd seen our trucks use that road their entire adult lives, and a survey from 1989 that literally showed the road on the boundary line. My attorney called it one of the most documented prescriptive easement cases he'd seen in 20 years of rural property law. We filed for an emergency temporary restraining order that same week. The judge reviewed the evidence in chambers and signed it the next afternoon. By Thursday morning, a sheriff's deputy was standing at that padlock gate with a court order requiring it to be opened immediately, pending a full hearing. I drove through that gate with my feed truck at 7:15 that morning. I won't pretend I wasn't smiling. You want to know what's fascinating about watching a real estate attorney get cross-examined about a property dispute he started? He had clearly done his homework after the TRO was served. He hired his own agricultural property attorney, brought in a survey he'd commissioned after the fact, and tried to argue that our use of the road had always been permissive, meaning we had permission, which would block a prescriptive easement claim. His theory was that because no one had ever told us to stop, we must have had implied permission. It was an interesting legal argument. It fell apart almost immediately. My attorney produced a letter written in 1974 by the prior owner's estate, recorded in the county clerk's office, that explicitly stated no formal permission had been granted for road use, and that access continued as a matter of long-standing rural practice. One document, filed 50 years ago by a man who never imagined it would matter. It mattered. The judge ruled in our favor on the prescriptive easement and issued a permanent injunction preventing the neighbor from interfering with our access. He was also ordered to remove the fence at his own expense and was required to pay a portion of our legal fees under a provision that penalizes obstruction when a party knew or should have known about a prior easement. The total cost to him of legal fees, fence removal, and court-ordered compensation ran north of $18,000. The cost to us, a lot of stress, a lot of sleepless nights, and the absolute certainty that we will never again let a property boundary go undocumented. I want to talk directly to every farmer, every rancher, every rural landowner watching this right now, because this situation is happening all over the country. City people are buying rural land. They're buying it fast. They're buying it without fully understanding the history. And some of them are buying it with the specific intention of asserting maximum control over every square inch. That's their right. But it is also your right to know and protect every easement, every right-of-way, every recorded and unrecorded access that your operation depends on. Do not wait until a fence goes up. Do not wait until a gate is locked. Go to your county assessor's office this week. Pull every recorded document on your property. Have a local agricultural attorney review your access points. Document your use of every road, every path, every utility line crossing that runs through or near a neighbor's property. Take photographs. Keep receipts. Get written acknowledgement from neighbors if you can. The law protects people who are prepared. It cannot protect people who have nothing to show. My grandfather kept every piece of paper. He filed surveys when nobody asked him to. He made notes in ledger books that still sit on a shelf in the farmhouse office. He could not have known that a letter filed in a county clerk's office in 1974 would win a court case in 2024. But he did it anyway, because that's what careful people do. That legacy, that paper trail is the reason our farm survived this. Respect the past. Document the present. Fight for what is rightfully yours. If this story helped you, if it made you angry on my behalf, or if it reminded you to go check your own property records, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more farmers and rural landowners who need to hear this. Subscribe to Neighbor Wars HQ for new episodes every week. Drop your own story in the comments. I read every single one. And check out the video on screen right now about the neighbor who tried to steal 10 feet of my fence line. That one got ugly fast. I'll see you there.